Welcome to the White Rabbit YouTube channel. In today's episode, we're doing part 2 of the Continent of Mu and Predecessor of Atlantis video. In part 1, we talked about the sunken land masses around the known world, the Anunnaki origin story, the continent and age of Mu, as well as several cataclysmic global resets that wiped almost everything out, ending with Noah's flood. So let's start there. In the annals of world mythology, one of the most enduring narratives is the story of the Great Flood, often referred to as Noah's Flood. From 4,359 years ago in 2348 BC, this cataclysmic event, as recounted in several ancient texts, tells a tale of colossal deluge that surged to cover vast expanses of the world's surface, reshaping the landscape and wiping out the remnants of an older world. According to these narratives, the cataclysm was intended as a purification of the earth. In the midst of this torrential onslaught, many towering beings, the Nephilim and giants, said to be offspring of celestial beings and humans, faced their ultimate demise, as did the vestiges of an era lost to the unforgiving waters. Remarkably, echoes of this flood narrative resonate across diverse cultures, transcending geographical boundaries. The tales and accounts of survival often parallel one another. More on this later. Not all were caught unaware. A Nacal that had returned to the now archipelago of Mu from Mare Runga, still very much in touch with the spiritual world, had a powerful vision during a dreamlike astral projection of his homeland engulfed by the rising seas. He was urgently directed to flee the impending catastrophe by going east to the highest peaks of the fragmented continent. Finally reaching the rocky land known as Rapa Nui, it became their sanctuary. Yet even this haven was not spared, leaving insufficient space for the survivors who sought refuge there. As the floodwaters receded and civilizations rebuilt, this event also ushered the erasure of ancient histories. Nacal bearers of ancient knowledge and wisdom were lost to the surge of change. Similarly, the Anunnaki, who were believed to have intervened in human affairs, were forced out of the earthly plane. They did return 6,000 years later to teach their genetic creations, i.e. humans, agriculture. This way they would expand in population faster and be of more use to the Anunnaki upon their future return, when they'll enslave them once more and resume gold mining operations. I will have to share this side story in a future episode. Now back to the flood. The flood thus symbolizes a profound transition, the termination of an epoch of giants and ancient custodians, the expulsion of celestial beings, and the dawning of a new era, in which humanity is charged with preserving the lessons of the past while navigating a freshly reformed world, i.e., the world has been reset again. Whenever the topic of the Great Flood arises, it's common to think there are only a handful of examples scattered across distant cultures and civilizations. However, the truth is far more astonishing. To dispel any doubts and make clear that this phenomenon is indeed widespread, let me present to you with just a glimpse of its global reach. Number 1, Mesopotamian, modern-day Iraq, Epic of Gilgamesh. A Sumerian poem tells of a great flood sent by the gods to wipe out humanity. The hero, Utnapishtim, builds an ark to survive the floods and is granted immortality by the gods. 2, Noah's flood. According to the book of Genesis, God decided to return the universe to its pre-creation state. God sends a flood to cleanse the world of wickedness. Noah is chosen to build an ark to save himself, his family, and pairs of animals. 3. The Greek flood myth. Deucalion and Pyrrha are the only survivors of a flood sent by Zeus to punish humanity. They repopulate the earth by throwing stones which turn into people. 4. The Hindu flood, India. Lord Vishnu appears to Manu, warning him of a great flood. Manu builds a boat and saves himself and 7 great sages and pairs of animals to repopulate the earth. 6. The Aztec flood myth. The god Tezcatlipoca sent a great flood to destroy the 4th Sun world era. Coxcoxtli and his wife Xochiquetzal survived the flood by floating in a giant chest and later repopulating the earth. 7. Polynesian. The demigod Maui tries to win immortality for humanity by transforming into a bird and flying to the heavens. However, his brother cut the feathers, causing him to fall and flood the land. The Last Rambles by George Catlin. In it, he meticulously documented no less than 100 distinct Native American legends of the flood. Our focus is drawn across the vast expanse of countless flood myths. Our journey takes us through the passage of time, transcending the collapse of the ages, stone, bronze, and iron, each punctuated by pivotal shifts in human society. From the nomadic ways of the hunter-gatherers to the advent of agriculture and to the rise of urban civilizations. Along the way, we encounter the enigmatic sea people whose assaults marked another chapter in history, a tale reserved for a future episode. Beyond these defining moments, we arrive at a remarkable juncture that bridges the ancient whispers with the explorations of a more recent era. As the 1870s dawned, Lieutenant James Churchward of the British Army found himself stationed in India, where he met and befriended the Rishi of a temple, one of the last humans to possess mastery over the enigmatic Naacals language. Churchward was taught to read and decipher the Muian inscriptions on the ancient tablets. Churchward unveiled a forgotten world that had long eluded history's narrative gaze. Mu, or as some people call it, Pacifica, Hiva, or the Empire of the Sun, the predecessor to both Atlantis and Lemuria, long since sunken beneath the waves. Churchward is most known for his theories about Mu, a highly advanced civilization that existed in the Pacific before Atlantis, as well as his assertions about the existence of an ancient universal language and spirituality. Churchward's ideas, popularized in his series of books including The Lost Continent of Mu and The Children of Mu, have sparked fascination and continues to intrigue those interested in alternative history, ancient civilizations, and the mysteries of our past, exactly like this channel. If you'd like to see more similar content in the future, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Also in the 1870s was Augustus Le Plongeon. His most distinctive contributions to the fields of archaeology and alternate history. Le Plongeon was a keen believer that there had once been a vast and advanced civilization that predated both Atlantis and the ancient Egyptian culture. He claimed that this civilization, known as Mu or Lemuria, was situated in the Pacific Ocean and had connections with various ancient cultures, including the Maya. Had he known of the Olmecs, only uncovered a century later in 1869, he would have known that the ruins and records were even older than the Maya. Deeply influenced by his research in Mesoamerica, he believed that the similarities between the ancient Mayan hieroglyphs and those of ancient Egypt supported his theory of a shared cultural ancestry linked to the continent of Mu. The enigma of the lost continent of Mu continues to cast its shadow upon the present day. While Churchward and Le Plongeon ignited a spark of intrigue, the echoes of their theories can still be heard in the whispered tales of the Pacific Island legends, where the footsteps of giants are etched into the collective memory of civilizations. The Egyptians have a profound connection to their own heritage, referring to it as a legacy culture. This culture encompasses two distinct epochs that precede the dynastic civilization. The first of these is called Zep Tepi, a mythical age during which gods roam the earth possessing otherworldly abilities. Following Zep Tepi, there emerged the epoch of Shemu Hor, also known as the followers of Horus. These individuals possessed extraordinary powers, blurring the lines between magic and advanced technology. In the words of Arthur C. Clarke, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, beautifully encapsulating the mystique that shrouded these ancient times. The sheer magnitude of the places that once encompassed Mu fuels our curiosity, beckoning us to venture beyond the confines of the conventional world and embrace the wonder of the unknown. The lost continent of Mu comes to life in Hawaii, where the landscape holds remnants of a forgotten past. Ancient megaliths whisper of an ancient civilization that once thrived. The guardians of lore, like the colossal figure of Haupu on Kauai, stands as a testament to a time when giants were said to roam the land, their stories woven into the very fabric of these isles. The Menahun are captivating figures found in Hawaiian legends, short-statured beings with human-like traits. Paralleled in southern Taiwan, where the Bunun tribe share tales of similar short entities, enriching the tapestry of mystical beings across Mu. The Menahun ditch tells a story of precise craftsmanship, its basalt stones fitted without mortar, a testament to an engineering prowess shrouded in mystery. The sacred hei'os, including the majestic Pilani hei'o, resonate with deep cultural and spiritual significance. A portal that bridges the ocean and connects Hawaii to Alaska. There are several legends of giants, including Huapu, Hinayuka, and Nuni. While time limits a full exploration of the giants' legends today, for those that want to learn more, please write a note in the comment section saying so, or join our live YouTube broadcast where questions become conversations. There are rumors of a secret pyramid, a three-sided tetrahedron pyramid on the island of Kauai. UFOs streak the skies with countless eyewitness reports and video footage. Linguistic ties and cultural echoes interweave Hawaii's story with those of distant lands. Hawaii is just one small part of the mountains of Mu. Continuing around the periphery of Mu, Hiva, Pacifica, and or Lemuria, our journey takes us southeast to the Marquesas Islands, the ancestral homeland of those who first settled Hawaii. Among the Marquesan landscapes stand the enigmatic tiki statues, reminiscent of the Easter Island iconic figures, but with a distinct and captivating twist. These tiki forms, with their elongated skulls and colossal goggle eyes, evoke an alien presence, mirroring the celestial beings attributed to the Naacals, with uncanny resemblances to statues found in Peru, Mexico, Japan, and even the petroglyphs of Australian Aboriginals. Hiva O, nestled within the Marquesas, is home to tikis said to be growing in height as their mystical power deepens. These statue entities, believed by some to be more than representations of gods or mortals, are thought to come alive with an essence that intertwines the spiritual and earthly. Regrettably, many of these artifacts have been claimed by museums around the world, depriving the islands of their mana energy, similar to the energies felt at Uluru and Nan Madol. The names of 3 islands, Nuka Hiva, Fatu Hiva, and Hiva O, resonate with the echoes of their homeland Mu, also known as Hiva, immortalizing the connection to the lost continent. Megalithic echoes resound within these lands. The wall of the Great Pepe on the ceremonial plaza of Vahen Gekwa in Tai Vai, Nuka Hiva, the site of a UFO landing pad watched over by the tikis. Just as statues and ancient relics from other corners of the world have faced acts of vandalism and defacement, the Marquesas Islands have also witnessed the tragic loss of their cultural heritage. The tiki Manuiota, a revered figure, suffered the mutilation of its head, a desecration that mirrors the defaced statues found in Egypt, Syria, Thailand, and beyond. Another tiki, Tiki Te Tove I Noho, endured the same fate, its head severed from its form. What secrets might these statues hold? Secrets modern humanity might not be meant to witness? Despite the loss, traces remain, like the 6 fingers on Tiki Te Tove I Noho's hand. Intriguingly, these tiki figures are attributed to the first man, resonating the notion of the Naacals, who possessed 6 fingers, exactly like the older basalt Easter Island Moai statues with 6 fingers. This shared feature echoes the giants of ancient lore, remnants of which endure in the mountains of Afghanistan, the cave systems of the Solomon Islands, the Mexican peaks, and even the recesses of the inner earth. Up next is the Tumotu Archipelago, home to the largest chain of atolls in the world. It was ceded to France and became the site of several nuclear weapon tests. Well, that's one way to cover up things they don't want you to find. But remember, history has shown that it won't be the last time the ominous shroud of nuclear tests conceals the truth. Our journey now takes us southeast to what is arguably one of the greatest enigmas in the world, Easter Island. This was not always an isolated, solitary island, but an integral part of the sprawling continent of Mu. Millennia of global upheavals and catastrophic resets culminated in the continent's fragmentation, leaving behind a scattered archipelago now known as Polynesia, Melanesia, and Micronesia that eventually evolved into the isolated mountaintop islands we know today. Setting aside the renowned Moai statues for the moment, let's delve into lesser-known facets of Easter Island's history. Within its enigmatic landscape, its ancient megalithic mortarless walls predate the iconic statues, evidence of a much more ancient civilization. In 1774, Captain Cook, during his famed British expedition, was astounded by the precision and artistry of the masonry. Of particular note was the Grand Wall at Hongaroa, although regrettably it exists no more, as its colossal stones were repurposed to construct a new harbor. The idea that certain historical information has been intentionally concealed.
Stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Or manipulated to control the mainline narrative is definitely a thing. Throughout history, there have been instances where political, cultural, and academic interests have influenced the presentation of facts to support specific narratives or agendas. Many of the oldest structures that once clung to the island's cliffs, as witnessed by early explorers like Jacob Raroffen, Carl Friedrich Behrens, William J. Thompson, and Captain Cook in the 17 and 1800s, have since succumbed to the encroachment of the sea, swallowed by landslides, repurposed for construction, and the passage of time. Most academics say the island was uninhabited until 1,000 years ago. This is ridiculous for many reasons, but let's start by looking at the hard proof. Look at this picture on the screen. You can see two different types of rock. On the right, they are basalt and tightly fit together, whereas the rest of the blocks are compressed volcanic ash, trachyte, and red scoria. But wait a minute, there are absolutely no basalt quarries on the island as it is now and was 1,000 years ago. So how were the basalt walls constructed? The answer lies with the famed French explorer Jacques Cousteau. He explored the outer edges of Easter Island underwater, and he found a basalt quarry. So did the inhabitants mine for basalt underwater? Of course not. As I repeatedly previously stated, there have been several global resets. Currently, in our world, over 1 billion people reside within 10 meters or 32 feet of sea level. If sea levels were to increase by just 10 meters, 32 feet, 1 billion people would be submerged. Now consider the implications of 100-meter, 328 feet rise in sea levels. It's worth noting that this is only half of the 200-meter, 656 feet minimum sea level rise that would have engulfed Easter Island. Along with all the coastal and low-lying areas of the world during the last cataclysmic flood. That means 12,000 years ago, the basalt quarry would have been exposed. So that would make the basalt walls at least 12,000 years old and probably much older. Easter Island, the most easterly point of the continent of Mu, has witnessed multiple phases of civilizations, with earlier, more advanced cultures giving way to later, less technologically developed societies due to the ravages of catastrophic events, exactly like in Göbekli Tepe. The Egyptians worshipped the sun god Ra. So did the inhabitants of Easter Island from the days of old when it was connected to the mainland of Mu. God was called Ra-Mu. After the pole shift reset bears the same patterns associated with Z-pinches, even more proof of a 12,000 plus year timeline for Easter Island. According to oral traditions, the first inhabitants were known as the Long Ears, giants. This can be corroborated by the account provided by Carl Friedrich Behrens, a member of the Dutch expedition, led by Jacob Raroffen, which made the remarkable discovery of Easter Island in 1722. Behrens, a German soldier who served on one of the expedition's ships, penned a detailed narrative chronicling their entire voyage. This narrative was first published in 1737. Notably, he stated that some of the indigenous inhabitants were so tall that the seamen could walk upright between their legs. The Naacals, an ancient and spiritually advanced civilization with cosmic origins or from beyond the ice wall, if you know anything about the firmament, but that's definitely a story for another time. I want to emphasize that I will be making an episode solely on Easter Island and its myriad of mysteries in a future episode. However, it's important to touch upon the Rongo Rongo tablets briefly. The Rongo Rongo tablets are a supposed undeciphered writing form from the Easter Islanders. The undeciphered Rongo Rongo tablets have been found to be almost exact copies of the symbols found at Mohenjo-Daro in the Indus Valley in Pakistan. A representation of Z-pinch auroras from antiquity. Pinches occur naturally in electrical discharges like lightning bolts, planetary auroras, current sheets, and solar flares. These phenomena stay visible in the atmosphere for long periods of time after magnetic or atmospheric upheavals like a pole shift. As proven by the United States when they detonated a 1.4 megaton thermonuclear device 400 kilometers or 248 miles above Johnston Island. Located 1,500 kilometers or 932 miles west of Hawaii in 1962. The persistence of radiation effects with a decay constant on the order of 100 days. Basically, 63.2% of the substance will decay within 100 days, leaving enduring imprints in the natural world. Not only the Rongo Rongo tablets and the Mohenjo-Daro symbols, but also petroglyphs dating back to the Neolithic age. Their conventional narrative proposes that megalithic architectural influences from Peru were recreated on Easter Island. But the basalt quarry would have been underwater and inaccessible to the Peruvians in 1200 AD. The Naacals, a culture of immense antiquity, embarked on an age of exploration that extended their reach to distant corners of the known world, including Peru. They brought with them the knowledge and technology necessary for megalithic construction. Over millennia, they established themselves in these lands only to face eventual displacement. Akin to the tales of the tribes from New Zealand who were believed to have originated from Peru and before that, Mu. They bear physical resemblances such as blonde and red hair, mirroring the headdress of the Moai statues dedicated to the ancestors. These Naacals evolved into the Chatupa, Wari, and eventually Kincaid cultures in the pre-Columbian era. Returning to their ancestral fragments of a once great homeland, they found themselves reunited with the long ears, the giants, but also coexisting with the short-eared inhabitants of Easter Island. This fusion would lead to their downfall. This is the end of part 2, but stay tuned for part 3, where the Mountains of Mu Pacific Tour of Proof continues to Tahiti, Tonga, Tuvalu, the Cook Islands, Rapa Iti, and more, with stories of giants, megaliths, and pyramids.